Although the 1920s saw great cultural change, the people of the era were concerned that if too many immigrants were flowing into America, that it would undermine the American established society and culture. With the anti-immigrant mentality, it was why the conviction and execution of Sacco and Vanzetti became so controversial at the time. They were charged with the murder of a paymaster and his guard, also the robbery of more than $15,000. After authorities searched the garage and found the alleged car that was tied to the crimes, they arrested Sacco and Vanzetti partly on the basis that they were both Italian. Although they had given false statements and had weapons on them at the time of their arrest, they were tried unjustly and were sentenced to death. Even though there was no evidence of the stolen money, and nearly all evidence that pointed against them was, in time, discredited. They were denied a retrial because the state Supreme Court didn't want to upset the existing verdict, and the Massachusetts governor, Alvin T. Fuller, denied them forgiveness for their crimes, even if the evidence pointed that they were innocent. This sparked outrage and multiple protests over their innocence, which were held in the United States and in European and South American cities for the years following their conviction.
The trial of Niccolo Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti.
But Sacco Vanzetti lays bare a lot of the mythology about American society, right? It certainly shows the difference between what America is supposed to be about and what it has been in certain circumstances.
Many famous writers and academics pleaded for a new trial when it became apparent to everyone that they were innocent. A Harvard law professor, who was later appointed as a Supreme Court justice, argued for their innocence and wrote an article in the widely read Atlantic Monthly. The largest rallies occurred in France and Italy, where thousands took to the streets. Bombs were even set off in New York City and Philadelphia days before their execution in hopes of convincing the commission to reevaluate the verdict.
I think that the case of Sacco and Vanzetti says a lot of different things about America. It says a lot about the tension that we live with constantly between individual civil liberties and collective national security, and the tensions that inevitably accompany a society that's constantly renewing itself through waves of immigration, constantly having to deal with foreigners in its midst.
It's a story that talks about the injustices of prejudice in a society because of the social position that you occupy. The characters of Sacco and Vanzetti, the circumstances under which they suffered, as we talk about the Passion of Jesus Christ. We can also call it the Passion of Sacco and Vanzetti.
After 6 years of separation, Sacco and Vanzetti had been brought together again in Charleston State Prison. People protested and cried for their freedom, but all efforts failed, and on August 23, 1927, the two men were executed by the use of an electric chair. News of the execution sent hundreds of thousands of protesters into the streets of 6 continents. After decades of studying the transcript, examining physical evidence, and interviewing individuals, Francis Russell, a historian who closely examined the Sacco-Vanzetti case, established that Sacco was guilty. However, Vanzetti had been innocent from the start.
Nicola.